readings of today? I think you have the readings of today. Yes. You know, Father and the Son and Holy Ghost, Amen. So, my dear friends, yesterday we were talking about this issue. It would be really a miracle if our youth survives this onslaught of the modern world. So yesterday we saw the big bad world out there is serious to their eyes, whereas this is not serious. This is, you know, for the weaklings. This is for the old ladies. This is not so serious. This is for mommy and daddy. So I joined for some time, but you know I'll quit. You know afterwards. It's not serious. That's one of the problems with the youth here in Singapore, especially because the glittering of Singapore is inescapable. The business, the seriousness of the business that's going on in this place is quite overwhelming for any youth. So the second thing which is so dangerous for the youth is the devil's, I call it the devil's honey trap. The devil honey trap. That is this whole culture, all the lyrics and all the songs, and you can also by extension the movies. That is the false love, the false notion of love, either between man and woman. You know, if you are lucky, and now all these loves that are against nature. And the youth is captivated. It's a trap. It's a honey trap. There's another. On top of that, now we have also the digital cage, or the video games and the electronics. But there is, I would say, before that, there is the honey trap. That trap is fairly old. It started with rock and roll, you know, 40, 50 years ago. And it's preaching a wrong notion of love. That we got the big problem is that you got two cities are built on two different and opposite types of loves. One is the love of self and to the despising of God, and that's the honey trap I'm referring to, and the love of God and to the despising of self, which is the opposite, which is the Catholic religion. But this honey trap is very powerful on the youth. You see them always, they go around with their cell phones and their ears are connected. And what are they listening? They are listening to the honey trap. They are listening to the deathly honey trap. Because the lyrics of those songs are wrong, the message is wrong, and it's very enticing. It has a rhythm, it has a beat. Sometimes it has some artistic beauty to some extent. It's well done sometimes, and it's more and more, and it's turning more and more devilish. You know, when you, I checked the video clips, and it's turning more and more explicitly devilish. Like one of those the singers, she's praising the Egyptian satanic goddess. At some stage in the video clip, she's coiled with serpents in the darkness, you know, and then she casts a spell. And then the people who approach her are turned into dust. It's a typical spell, you know, in the Egyptian culture and everything. And it's well done. It's well done. It's actually interesting representation of the Egyptian gods and everything. And it's magnifying them. It's making them look real nice and real good. Another one, she's praising the suicide. She's praising this supreme moment when you throw yourself off a bridge into the unknown. And so you are showing courage, you are showing that your destiny is in your own hands. And there is a melancholy of despair, which always has an artistic beauty. And so she's throwing herself into the cloud and this and that, and then she's beautiful and everything. But she's glorifying suicide, and probably some youth are going to commit suicide on account of this. But it's a holy trap of death. I think there is no better example for any youth to be healed from that disease than to study Michael Jackson, than to look at his face, look at the deformity of his face. The man is a ruin. The man is And he himself was trapped. He says, I am trapped, I have no escape. His Muslim sponsors, because he was so messed up that he converted to Islam, and his Muslim sponsors were pressuring him into producing. But he was only skin and bones. He had wrecked himself. And he was struck by God in as early as 1984 when his hair went on fire. You know? And from that time on, he was a wreck. He was a psychological wreck. Having himself wrecked already, but he was even worse. And he's a horrible monster. And he commits horrible things. Like the children that he has are all white. They're not black like he is. And they come from surrogate mothers. And which come from IVF, in vitro fertilization, which leads to many abortions. Maybe for one child that is successful, you have so many hundreds of, or maybe thousands, I don't know, of abortions in the IVF manipulations. And it's the eugenics, that is, you manipulate things, you want a blonde girl with blue eyes and everything, and it's a worse form of Nazism. They say Hitler is bad, but they are doing 1,000 times more with this buying human beings on trays, basically, shopping for human beings, and exploiting third world women for those purposes. And that's one of the big sins of Michael Jackson. But what he did on himself is horrible. He changes his nose, he puts a chemical to remove the color of his skin. Whereas the blacks are beautiful. It's a beautiful race. There is nothing. He had nothing to be ashamed of. But he removes it, and he becomes all white, like as we say, as a aspirin pill. In French we say that. And he's monstrous. His lifestyle is monstrous, and the consequence of sin. You see that is despair and depression, lack and no peace. There is no peace for the wicked. So he lost all his sleep. So he had to use substances, drugs of all kinds, and his sleep time all went down to 1 hour if he was lucky. 1 hour with respirators, with oxygen mask, and with the doctors pumping and his sexual life was a complete mess, incapable ever to love one woman and stay faithful to her, more than 30 seconds. So look at the man. If you are attracted to this honey trap, look at the man. He's just one example, because the same thing repeats itself on the other stars. Like recently there was an extract, Beyonce, and she's there, and there is something going on in her. She's not there. She looks completely demented, completely either possessed or a psychological wreck. But I think in Michael Jackson, God wanted to make a clear example. You got documentaries, books were written about his end, about his gradual demise. And this shows you that this is a trap. It is a trap, it is not leading to happiness, and it is not leading to life, but it's leading to death. And you see there how the devil treats those who love him. They say they love the devil. They put all his lyrics and they carry out his message. But this is what they get. What they get in return is torture. That's what they get in return. And that's what I would like the youth to study carefully, because it is a trap. It is a love which is not. It's based on the love of self, but it leads to death. And that's why the collect of the Mass of today, of first Sunday of Advent, says, Ut ab imminentibus peccatorum nostrorum periculis, so that we may be saved from the imminent perils of our sins. The peril of those sins is imminent on those who fall into this trap. very soon, sooner than later, they die, or sooner than later, they are miserable. They are miserable. They wreck themselves with this modern love, which is sickening. It looks good. They make it look good. That's all, the problem. That they can make it look good for some years, or they make it look good in some individuals, but you don't know what's their life behind the scene. They make it look good on their faces, but you don't know what a mess they are inside. That's a modern man. Modern man is a mess. It's all messed up. It's all dirty inside. And they can't love. They don't know what love is. You know? They don't know. Because they can't be faithful. There is no fidelity. How can there be love if there is no fidelity? How can you say that you love a man or a woman if you're not true to him or true to her for the rest of your life? And true to your spouse when your spouse is in trouble, when your spouse ages, when your spouse is sick, when your spouse is poor, for better and for worse, for richness and poor, and in health and sickness. How can you say that you love if you can't stand for the one whom you love? And they're incapable to show this love. And that's why you see all around, the marriages are breaking, and now they are even destroying the idea of marriage. And the basic foundation of marriage, which is that the marriage is between a man and a woman. And that's why you see in this honey trap, gayism is coming more and more. They are praising more and more gayism. But they started to do it, way back in the 70s and 80s. 80s especially, gayism appears in the popular lyrics. And so we have to rescue the youth from this honey trap. And the best thing is that you instruct them on what type of a mess are these people. And they are not the ones who should dictate to our youth what is the path to happiness. They are no teachers of happiness because they are not happy in the first place. They are counter examples of happiness, or they are perfect examples of unhappiness and self-demolition, self-destruction. And God has left to us sufficient signs, so that when we look at them truthfully and carefully, we can really say that this is all lies. These are all lies that lead to nothing. As Jeremiah said, it's a pierced cistern. It's a cistern, yes, but it's completely dry inside. And it hasn't got the only solution for the human heart. The only solution for the human heart is the indwelling of God in the heart of man. That's the only solution. And Our Lady has that solution. She has that solution. She was able to rescue the whole Mexican Maya Empire, 6 million people, by touching their hearts. That's how our religion has a control on us. Either you are a slave of Satan, and you are in his honey trap, or you are a slave of these true loves. The love of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which we worship in this Mass, which we receive in Holy Communion, and the love of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen.